to the Sound Like Us podcast, where we get the bedroom rock stars out of the bedroom, out into the world to hopefully get them the recognition they deserve. During the interview, we get to know an artist by asking them about how important music is to them, from how their early life shaped the musician they became, to live music, to their first foray into writing and producing music, and what they have planned for the future. Please like, follow, share and subscribe in all the usual places, so Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Podcasts, Instagram, YouTube, etc. A big thank you to everyone that has done so already. Please spread the word far and wide to your friends, family and even that annoying prick you sit next to at work. If you like the podcast, please subscribe on whatever podcast platform that you use, as this helps give the algorithm a big old slap in the chops and gets these musicians even more of the exposure they deserve. If you're a musician, singer-songwriter, rapper, producer, DJ, MC, or even, God forbid, a drummer, and you fancy joining me on the podcast, please don't hesitate to get in touch and we will get you on. Thanks for listening and enjoy the show. Welcome to the Sound Like Us podcast and to today's guests, singer-songwriter Keen Garrity and guitarist Will Malone. Keen, Will, thank you very much for joining us after a little bit late, but here we are. Thank you both for coming on.
Thank you so much for having us. I was very, very excited to have this come through.
Okay.
I don't want to just sit here and blow smoke, as they say, but I think this is a great idea for a podcast. I think it's wonderful. Like the questions that you sent and that I know you ask people are just things that people are so excited to talk about. So thank you to you for doing it. I think it's great.
That's okay. I'm just a little podcaster from South London. I'm finding my way through it. So thank you for saying that.
We're all little somethings from somewhere, you know.
Yeah,
good on you though. I think it's great.
Yeah,
I think it's great, and I'm impressed with the volume of work that you've put out already. I think
thank you.
It's great. I'm excited for you.
Thank you very much. Right, so let's start by having you both telling us a bit about yourselves.
So now this reads like an elevator pitch bio, but I'm Keen Garrity. My real first name is Rebecca, so Keen Garrity is a stage name, and I am a singer, songwriter, producer, and I would say that the music that I make is somewhere at the intersection between Americana and prog rock.
Yeah.
I also will sometimes call it storybook pop rock. So, we've got some descriptors there. I currently live in Toledo, Ohio. We both do. And I'm originally from Knoxville, Tennessee. And then if you ever listen to any of my songs and hear some tasteful guitar fretting on them, which you will if you do, that would be this guy right here, my main collaborator and also my spouse. So.
Okay.
And I'm Will Malone. I live in this house also with a dog, cat, about 5 guitars, and an electric lawnmower. Big news lately in our house. So I'm the original.
Wow. Okay, cool. Right, so how did the music your parents listened to influence you both while growing up?
So I have one of those standard come from a musical family answers, and I think a lot of us would probably say that. And I really, really do come from a musical family. My grandfather, which we call my papaw, my papaw was a recording artist for the Capitol Americana label in the 50s. And then my dad was a musician his entire life. He passed when I was very young, but he was a lifelong musician starting from the time he was a little boy, where they used to trot him out to play the fiddle on a bunch of different country music shows and television shows. And then as he grew up, he kind of developed his own interest and his own taste in music that maybe included a little country, but was also a lot more diverse. And he really got into, artists that were more thoughtful, sensitive, like the Beatles. He was a huge Beatles fan. He loved Paul Simon. He loved the Carpenters, but the weird Carpenters, like calling occupants of interplanetary craft, like the Carpenters when they were feeling experimental. But yeah, I think he had great taste in music. He was a really thoughtful, sensitive person, and of course I miss him greatly. And then you had a musical family too, Will, I think. Sorry.
My dad played guitar in bands a lot. He played in a 60s cover band that was pretty popular around the area where I grew up, and they would play Motown and Queen with all the really good harmonies, and the Eagles and stuff like that. And they sometimes did weird the Blues Brothers get up with some minor choreography. and some horn stuff. So they're more on the like the professional entertainment than the come see my bar band type thing. So I have to believe that gets into your brain somehow. But yeah, I definitely was around that a lot. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, it definitely works its way in there, doesn't it? Yeah.
It does.
So, being the granddaughter and grandniece of the Birchfield brothers, did that have quite a big impact on you while growing up?
So interestingly, I really didn't hear a whole lot about it until I was an adult. For whatever reason, I'm not sure. My Papa Joe passed away before I was born, so he wasn't around at that point. And I don't know if it was just not a chapter that the family discussed, because they still played their own music. Like, I've got bukus of uncles and cousins who are all playing music, but for some reason I really didn't even find out about this until adulthood. But I mean, I have to think that his influence kind of loomed large over everybody, because he was very big on encouraging all of my dad's brothers to play music, and he had a bunch of siblings, so they were always showmen. They were always playing out professionally. They were always big on putting together a really rehearsed show. So I think the influence was there in the showmanship and professionalism, if nothing else, right?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
And we were
Can you
always
sh-
a rock and roll household too. So I'm sorry.
Oh, yeah?
I heard country music a lot when I was growing up,
Mm,
but it's almost environmental. I really do feel
yeah.
that my family it's almost like you start to define yourself in opposition to what you are around all the
Mm,
time. And just like my dad was like, I don't want to play Buck Owens, Dad. I want to play the Beatles. It's the same thing. You just do it. Every generation has to go through that, I think.
yeah. I mean, I guess where you guys are from, country music is everywhere.
Yeah, it is. It is in the air. It is in the water. It is
Mm,
in the soil, probably everywhere. And Will, I don't know if this was your experience so much, but I mean, just everywhere you were subjected to it, like the school bus,
That's exactly what I was going to say, because I think
every day of your life.
when you hear country music, I think you're thinking of like Buck Owens or Johnny Cash and stuff. But
mm.
our generation, we were hearing country music. It was very much like, what's the auction song, Rebecca?
The Grundy County auction,
Yeah,
John Michael Montgomery.
like that, and like
Oh.
Achy Breaky Heart, things you would hear on the school bus. So we would call it like school bus country, very 90s country.
Did Achy Breaky Heart make its way over to where you were? Because
Massive.
from what I understand,
Massively.
unfortunately a
Let-
global phenomenon.
Yeah,
Let me put it like this,
like
right?
a fidget spinner.
Obviously, we've got football in this country. We call it soccer. You probably know soccer fans in this country like singing a lot.
Right, right.
There are certain songs that we sing in this country that are done to the tune of "Achy Breaky Heart" in football grounds.
To this day,
Yeah.
I've always heard that was a big part of like British football culture, is that you make up songs about like the other team or the other players to make fun of them. That's
Yeah.
hilarious.
There's a whole history about that. It kind of comes from hymns that come from the church. Original football
Okay.
or soccer songs were to the tune of hymns that come from the church. But yeah,
And now they're very
since the
lewd.
yeah, yeah, when the saints go marching in, that kind of stuff like that. But yeah, Billy
Boy,
Ray
don't sing this in
Cyrus.
church.
We might not sing
That
that
is
version
really-
in church.
Yeah, so
We don't that verse. We skip. We skip that verse.
Bleep a few of those
that's,
words out.
I mean,
but-
and that's yeah, just skip those. Just skip those. But yeah, we were at ground zero for the achy breaky heart phenomenon, and we had to learn the line dance in gym class and all that stuff.
Yep,
but
yep.
yeah,
Yeah.
it really is everywhere. And of course, now I look back on those songs with fondness because I'm not constantly trapped by them 24/7.
No,
But at the time,
exactly.
it was like, yes. So
But yeah, I think country music is a fantastic tradition, and it's found its way over here many years ago. My dad was a massive country music fan. Can you share
oh
how
yeah,
your sorry
who were some of his favorite artists? I'm just curious.
people like Don Williams, obviously Johnny Cash,
Oh, yeah.
massively, Crystal Gale,
Mhm.
Kenny Rogers.
Okay.
Love
No,
me
but-
some Crystal Gale.
yeah, you
Anyone
can't
with
beat
hair
them.
that long, the music matches the beauty, matches the whole aesthetic of Crystal Gale. I'm just, chef's kiss. Love her.
It was fantastic.
Well, I think that's wonderful. Those are the classics for sure.
Yeah, definitely. Can you share how your backgrounds and the places where you grew up shaped you both as artists?
So, Will, I feel like you had
Well,
a little bit more.
while we were talking about this yesterday, I don't know. I was actually thinking because at least the town where I grew up, we did not really have the prevailing culture that other bigger cities had. So we didn't have MTV, so we were
Yeah.
kind of ignorant to what was popular or what was cool. And this was pre internet or workable internet, and so it was not weird to follow your own interests. So everybody kind of liked what their parents liked or what weird thing your cousin from Tallahassee, Florida liked or something. So it was not weird for me to like really be into Black Sabbath or
Mm.
Aerosmith during the middle of the grunge era. I do
Yeah.
remember, I think the thing that set off my guitar nerd brain was some kids in Boy Scouts. I don't know how much you do scouting over there, but some kids in Boy Scouts had a music merit badge, so they had to bring guitars, and they played Metallica's Enter Sandman, and my brain blew up. Like I'd never heard like cartoon evil and that kind of stuff you can
That
do
could
on
be
guitar.
me. That could be me playing for the Boy Scouts.
Exactly. So anyway, I think we're a little free because we didn't know what was cool.
Yeah. I mean,
That's a good answer. Yeah.
I was going to say we have scouting over
In
here.
my case,
Sorry. Yeah. After you. Sorry, King.
was there a music merit badge?
No. No. If we had one, then people would have actually turned up.
What was
Oh,
right? Was it all just outdoorsy and horrible?
It was
Insects and all that stuff.
You get badges for if you could do like a particular kind of knot. It was literally that boring. It's like if you
yeah,
can do like
we did a lot of that too. We did that too.
and like these people can barely tie their own shoelaces. You can't you can't get a badge for doing a particular knot. Were there any particular experiences with music in your hometown while you were growing up that stand out to you?
For me, I would like to just refer to again, it's just the whole ether. I feel like you came of age in an ether of of sometimes questionable and sometimes classic traditional musics. And the example that I thought of that was I would refer to my baby book for this answer.
Yeah.
So the tradition of keeping a baby book before smartphones, where like you would document your children's development about he's 5 months, he loves to wave at people, like she started walking at XYZ. Yeah. So in my baby book, there is a section that was filled out for baby's favorite music, like what songs does baby like, and this was when I was a toddler, and my mom wrote 3 songs down. So this was like my jams when I was like 2 years old. Okay, so the first one, Jesus Loves Me, a banger, right, right, church nursery rhyme, a thing. The second one, and I apologize for having to bring up American football, but
It's okay.
that was Rocky Top, which is originally a bluegrass song by the Osborne brothers, but it's the song that plays every time the University of Tennessee football team makes a touchdown. So
Okay.
there's that one. And then the third was a contemporary country song by Ricky Skaggs called Heartbroke. So like, it got your heart broke and you're running from the reason. So if you want to know what it's like then just growing up in East Tennessee, that's your answer right there, because it's Jesus, football, and country music from the radio.
Checks out.
That's it. And yeah, it's like I was saying a little bit earlier, you grow to hate it when you're a kid, and then of course you look back on it with tremendous nostalgia as an adult, because it's hilarious. It's hilarious that my favorite song was Heartbroke by Ricky Skaggs. That's very funny to me now.
What were you doing as a baby to know this was your favorite one?
Yeah, where did my mom get that answer? I don't know.
Yeah. We've definitely got Jesus, football, and music in this country, just not necessarily in that order.
Maybe Jesus is sometimes he's at the bottom.
It's seasonal. It's seasonal.
Seasonal. It's seasonal. There you go.
Yeah, every 25th of December, then he makes a peak up to the top of the charts. But yeah. Your 2 albums, Get Big and Atomic Hymns, they touch on, as you put in the bios, self-mythology and determination. Talk us through that a little bit.
Sure. I think the number one thing that any song is about, any song in the world, if you think about it and name one, they're all about coming to terms with existence. Simply put, that's really what all music is about. We're all thrust into this planet, and it's bizarre and beautiful and interesting and wonderful and terrible. And I think we just spend our entire lives trying to figure out what all that means. And so I tried to make the two albums be companion pieces to each other, and they're kind of opposite ends of the spectrum. Get Big is about feeling the overwhelm of existence, but then flaring yourself out in an obnoxious way in response, flaring your ego and saying, I'm big, I'm grand, I'm interesting, I have something to say. Whereas Atomic Hymns, that is more a meditation on being small, about saying, you know what, life is overwhelming and bizarre and I don't understand it. And here I am going to try to just make peace with being a tiny little speck of existence.
Okay.
More or less.
So,
And I was going to say the reason I really like that one, the small one too, is like it's not just about being humble small. It's like the tenacity of a small thing. It's like I don't care.
Yeah.
I don't care about the odds or how small it is. I'm a particle doing stuff.
Thank you. That's lovely. It's true. It is about the tenacity of smallness.
You know, like your
that.
first song, that stubborn little weed. You know.
Yeah, I'm a stubborn little weed. I exploded from a seed. I will grow from concrete crack. I will grow, can't be pruned back.
I love that. I absolutely love that. So it's kind of like both introspective yet powerful.
I would say so. I also really I really attempt when I'm writing songs to be introspective, but not to make it too much about me, to make it too navel gazing. I really want to write sentiments that I hope people can relate to.
Yeah.
On some level. So, you know, I do really try to ride that balance between the particular and the general.
Okay, cool. Is there a specific piece of music that transports you to another time or place, that brings back memories or emotions?
Well, did you have one? Because if not, I've got.
I'm
trying not to talk too much. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
I was thinking when I was thinking about this, I was thinking that I mentioned I lived in a smaller town, and that was the time of like cassette tapes, and so we always had the same thing going all the time, and one of them was like a Eagles greatest hits. And so I remember we were driving in the trees in the country a lot at night, and I don't know, you hear things funny when you're a kid, and I remember a lot of those Eagles songs kind of sound spooky at the beginning because they have those guitar harmonies, those creepy like fourths at the beginning and stuff, like Witchy Woman. And my sister and I felt like we saw ghosts all the time out there. And so whenever I hear the Eagles, I think about seeing skeleton faces out the truck window, or imagining things in the trees coming to get us and stuff. So I think about ghosts when I think about the Eagles. So.
Very evocative. That's a weird one. I like it.
I'm scared now.
That's better than mine.
Yeah, I know Witchy Woman wasn't really about witches.
But in the woods at night.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah, definitely.
Going to Pizza Hut was never so terrifying as when you put on the Eagles and it's
on the way
20 miles away from your house.
And it is really funny, yeah, because no Eagles song is scary at all. Not even Witchy Woman. I love that's so beautifully evocative. I love it.
Joe Cocker used to come out of that guitar case like a coffin. That was a little scary.
Joe Walsh?
Joe Walsh, yeah.
I was going to say Joe Cocker wasn't in. He was not in the Eagles. I was thinking he's from Sheffield.
I don't remember that, but
not California. Keen, how about yourself?
He would have if he thought about it.
Yeah, well, okay, fair. Well, my answer is less spooky than that, but when I was thinking about that, I was speaking of personal lore. My first job ever, my first summer job as a teenager, was at Dollywood, Dolly Parton's theme park in the Smoky Mountains. And if this is news to you that exists, it does exist, and
I've heard about it. I've heard about it.
Bonkers place. It is a wondrous place of bizarre beauty. But I worked in concessions at Dollywood, and I worked in a place called Show Street, which is where you would come in the park and like you would enter and exit the park. And on Show Street, they played Dolly Parton music on a loop all day, and they would play that. It would go through these rock-shaped speakers, and so it's outdoors. It's already a little tinny. And so I really think about that when I think of some of Dolly's hits from the mid to late 90s, because they were playing a lot of those. And also they would just inexplicably play this disco song that she sang one time called Baby I'm Burning. Baby I'm burning, baby I'm burning. And I'm sitting here like sweating my face off because it's July in Tennessee and there are wasps all around the lemonade stand, where I'm working. And Dolly Parton is singing in my ear about burning. And I'm like, really, really feeling it
I am
because of
literally burning. I mean,
the
I
theme
can't
park
imagine how it.
experience.
I can't imagine it.
I'm literally burning.
I can't imagine how it would be to listen to Dolly Parton's music all day. They should only do it 9 to 5.
Hey, I wish they had only done it because it was often 9 to 9 was the park hours. Yeah, and what is the weirdest thing of all about all of this is that you would think that I would have come out of that experience loathing Dolly Parton's music,
Mm,
but it was Stockholm syndrome, and
mm.
I just loved it. As it turned out, I just loved Dolly Parton's whole catalog, and if that's not proof that the woman is magical or some kind of angel or being, I don't know what is, because that really should have done it for me. I should have been completely against Dolly Parton
She's
from that
fantastic.
moment on.
She's
Oh
incredible.
yeah, yeah. That's our queen. But I mean, yeah, just such a genuine person, such a genuine talent, such an authentic person. Um,
Yeah. So, who would you say are your main influences?
well, I'm gonna let you talk more on this because I think for guitar playing, you have like an interesting answer. No, seriously. I mean, seriously. For me as a songwriter, I feel like thinking about your influences is like very tricky because
Mm,
I don't know. I never feel like I have the right answer about what comes out because you listen to everything and it filters through you. And what comes out sometimes doesn't even sound like what I think it should sound like. I'm just like, huh, so I wrote that. That's weird. And I
mhm,
really do listen to so many different things. Like I listen to, I do like country music, but I like rock mostly, a lot of heavy metal. And so I'm just sitting here thinking every day when I'm getting dressed, putting on makeup and listening to Judas Priest like top volume, how is that coming out in my music? I don't know. I hope it is. Maybe it is. Halford does a lot of weird creatures and self mythology, but I
mm,
don't think that that's coming out directly in my music. So I
mhm.
just like to think it's a mysterious process, and that's my answer. But
Okay.
Will, I know for guitar playing, since it's so technical, I know for you, I think there are things that you know that you point to that you think, hey, that's how I would like to play.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, I think that's right. Obviously, I had time to think a little bit about this, but I would say probably Kirk Hammett is a pretty big influence, not necessarily because of his note choices, but because of his control of the energy of a solo. He just knows exactly what wad of notes to deploy for what's supposed to happen for the moment. He's
Mm,
just really good about the emotion of the solo. I would also say Al Collins from Leonard Skinner. Not so much his honky tonk stuff, but he has this weird ability, I think, to make like classic rock chops sound weird. Like I'm thinking about like the beginning of Saturday Night Special, that weird guitar with the delay. To me, it sounds like the beginning of Mega Man. He's at the top of the building and his hair is blowing.
yeah, yeah.
It's like Rad before Rad existed. And then a guy I'm really into right now is Nick Johnston, a Canadian guy who just started playing with Mastodon, and he's actually I think of him more as like as a composer than a guitar player, but I think he really made me appreciate leaning into the humanness of what you're playing. Like he really loves all the noises your guitar makes. He's got like a lot of gain, but he controls it a lot. So every slide and scrape and ornamentation you can do, that's great, and you should lean into that. Maybe play single coils a little bit more.
I think that's a really important point for you, Will. And I think for a lot of singers who can relate to this too, a lot of us, I think, struggle with the humanness of what comes out of us, when you're
Mm,
singing or when you're playing guitar. And I think we do tend to feel self conscious when you've got those little tells, that, whether it's, oh, you can tell I didn't really get the whole chord sounding, or like, oh, you can tell that, my voice was not what it should be that day.
mm,
That's something that I feel like as an artist, if you can get past your weird little quirks and then just learn to embrace them, I think
mm.
that's maybe the number one goal because it makes you just a lot freer when you're
Like
Yeah.
performing.
like the other day we were listening to the Four Tops. What's that guy's name? The singer Stubbs or
Levi
whatever.
Stubbs.
That
Yeah.
guy
Levi
just sounds
Stubbs.
so present. I don't even know that he was hitting the right notes all the time, but he's just like blending, shouting, and singing, and it's just awesome. Like it's like
Mhm.
I don't know. That's
But
a good example of that.
Levi Stubbs, such a talent. I love Four Tops. He's so awesome. Yeah.
Do you have a natural process to work those influences into your music? or is it, like you said earlier, a bit more organic?
Yeah, for me, I do feel like I'm running it through the computer. I'm running it through the computer, and then also the garbage disposal, and then also I don't even know what goes on there. I really do like to keep it that way too. And one thing I'm actually really careful about is I try not to listen to anything or anyone that I think sounds too much like me. Not that I can think of a ton of artists who do, but I really try to get my influences from other genres because I feel like I don't want to ever copy anybody, even by accident, you know? And so the fun thing about being influenced by a genre that's widely different from your own is that nobody will know if you're copying it. Like, nobody's going to know if I'm copying Rob Halford vocally. Probably. Nobody's going to think of that comparison. Like, nobody's going to say, like, wait a minute, that's a Judas Priest song. And maybe they will, I don't know. But for me, I always try to, if I do feel influenced by something, I always try to make sure that it's a couple of steps removed from what I do so that I don't inadvertently copy.
That's good. Right. This one is a random question that I didn't add into the questions that I sent to you. So be prepared.
Okay.
Right. If you could take any person to any concert in history by any artist, A, who would you take? B, what concert would it be? And why would you take that person to that concert?
That's hard. That's
Sorry about
That's
that.
hard. No, I know that's hard. And then I also feel like my answer is automatically influenced by Bill and Ted's Big Adventure, like where you're taking for their historical figures and like who would be the most fun people. Like, would Napoleon be fun at a concert? I don't know. I don't know.
Napoleon at an Eagles concert.
Napoleon would take Napoleon to go see the Eagles.
One should beware of this witchy woman.
Where's Joe Cocker?
She does what with a silver spoon?
So I'm trying to think. I mean, and personally, I feel like I would love to be able to go with my dad to a concert because, you know, he died when I was very young and I didn't get that chance really. And I think we would have bonded over music as adults. And so I guess it would be maybe not one of the big ones, because if you say, oh, I'm going to go see the Beatles at Shea Stadium, actually that was probably a terrible concert to go to. It's just loud and horrible. But it would be something like that. I think I would like to be able to have taken my dad to see one of his favorite bands.
Okay, cool.
But Napoleon seeing the Eagles is a close second.
And I would say about 50% of that answer, like I would take my dad to an Eagles concert in their prime for the exact reason I talked about. One of the concerts where Joe Walsh did come up out of that guitar case like a coffin, because he loved Joe Walsh, but also my dad was a real ham and a real goof and very, very funny. I think that's just the exact energy that he would like, the showmanship and the goofiness and the great guitar playing. That'd be perfect.
That's really cool. Right. Can you remember the first piece of music that you ever wrote?
I can. Will, I think you said your answer for this was embarrassing, so you're not going to
I think you can answer that.
I can, and I'm really proud that I remember this. I'm very proud that I even did it. I was like maybe 8 years old. I was pretty young and my dad was still living, so I would have been 7 or 8. And I remember having the thought like, okay, I need to start writing music. I don't know why, just something triggered this in me. And so I was like, Dad, can you take me to the Handy Dandy, a local convenience store, and buy me a notebook so I can write some songs because I got to do this. And so he did, which was very sweet. And I got a notebook that had Garfield on the front. And in this Garfield notebook, I went home and wrote what in my mind was like an East power ballad because it was the 80s. And so it was like, none of this time did I know you be mine. It's like I'm in heaven. And I'm sitting here like feverishly writing this in my Garfield notebook. Like, this is the best song ever. And in my mind, there was a lot of production and probably strings and synthesizers. But of course, I never got any farther than the Garfield notebook. So, but that was the first song I ever wrote. And it was, okay, cool. It would have been a classic hit. If only.
If you don't mind, that reminded me, I actually do have the very first one I did was we got our first computer in the 90s, and it came with this like composition software, and we didn't know how computers work. And they had like a series of like 8 megs of memory left on the computer. And so it took a long time to do it. But I would put stuff on that music staff, and I figured out like, oh, if you make some of them randomly flat, it gets really complicated. And so I did that for about 72 measures of garbage and called it the storm. And I was like, I think we've done something here. I'm pretty sure ASCAP needs to pay attention to this.
You're like, this is my future. I can see it.
Yes, exactly.
yeah.
Oh yeah, I printed it out to show my middle school band director, and he was like, yeah, I've been working on stuff for years. Keep trying. Keep trying.
I see you've added some flats here for no
Yeah.
reason.
It's like, yes, but I also found the sharps button. So about to get complicated.
So, Will, can you tell us more about what it was like growing up in a sort of small town where things like MTV and other stuff were, when it comes to sort of pop culture, were hard to come by?
Well, I would say it meant that when you found something weird you hadn't heard about, it felt like it was secret and special and just for you. And you were allowed to have this relationship with it that's uncomplicated by anything else. And so sometimes things would trickle in, and among like the smart kids, it would really take off. Like I remember there were like 3 really smart music people that I knew, and somebody somehow got a Sunny Day Real Estate album. And I remember this just blew our minds. It said it's so strange and so creepy, and we never heard chords and voicings like that. And you just almost didn't want anybody else to know about it because you just, first of all, when you're in a small town, even though I can appreciate it now, you're dying to get out, and you just feel like oh, there's something there's stuff like this I don't know about out there. So I don't know. Everything was a little treasure when you found it.
Yeah. Okay. That's cool. Do you recall the first time experience live music, like the first concert?
So, well, for me, I know I was seeing like my uncles play live literally from the time I remember being alive, and they would do like local shows and stuff like that. I really enjoyed doing that. I did have one uncle who did country shows, and we went to those, and then occasionally the uncles would play in a non-sketchy bar venue or a non-bar venue, and the kids got to go to that, so we would go to that. They also played at my mama's house a whole lot, so we got to just see them playing. And they did a lot of like country flavored rock covers, I would say. So they loved like the Ventures and Elvis, but the good Elvis songs. That's
Sure,
rude.
sure. We know
That's
what that
rude.
means. We
That's
know.
rude. No, but I nothing against Elvis. I don't know why I'm sitting here. Elvis is catching strays for no reason on this. I don't know on this podcast, but I always thought that they had great taste in music too, because it was very curated, their set list, and I really
Yeah.
enjoyed that. The first concert that I remember buying tickets to, though, was actually a Beatles experience, like 1964 as the Beatles, where they would go and they would put on like the Pierre Cardin suits and some dubious haircuts, and they would do like, this is what it would be like to see the Beatles on Ed Sullivan. And it's like, but is it though? Is that what it's
No.
Is that what it's like?
No.
Not a bit. The uncanny valley is very strong with that. God love them, because it was an entertaining show, and it was fun watching it. But yeah, I think that was the first thing that I ever spent money on, like
Okay,
going
cool.
and buying a ticket for that, because we had our Beatles phase when I was like 10, and
Yeah.
it was great. It was
Cool.
fun.
It was fun. Will, how about yourself?
It was a Creed concert. And I don't know how familiar you are with Creed, the band. This was before they had, yes, and this was before the baggage that they carried. Now, this was their first album when they did like My Own Prison and stuff. And we went to see it at like some sort of civic building. I can't remember. And it was pretty small. And they were fine. But I think the important thing about that was I could pick up on their popularity, but I remember watching them play and thinking, I could do that. That's okay, but I could do that, which is not necessarily a crappy thing to say, because I think
Yeah.
it's important for artists to see for the first time, like, there's something there I could do better or I would do differently. And that's almost as important as being inspired by good things.
Yeah.
That's very Creed catching strays over here on this.
Yeah, they earned it.
No,
They earned
you know what? And history is starting to look more softly upon Creed, because I think we enjoyed several years as a globe of dunking on them. So I think maybe now they'll get some appreciation.
I will
don't know.
say their guitar player, who seemed like a very nice guy, he was secretly like a guitar virtuoso, and he plays in some crazy like modern prog band now
These
is
days.
really good. Is that
Okay.
Mark Tremonti? Anyway, yes, I thought Creed thought I could do better.
Poor old Creed. So we've got Creed and Elvis that are catching strays.
Yes.
They're in the headstocks and we're throwing stuff at them.
Yeah.
Poor guys.
Poor guys. Yeah.
So what were the first live performances you both ever did?
I remember mine. I'm sorry, everything has like a whole anecdote. I'm sorry, but that's okay. So I remember the first time that I was ever asked to like sing in front of people, which I would count like the first performance. And this was kind of a weird one because we like my sister and I have an older sister. We were raised in the church and we're not churchy magoos, or I'm not a churchy magoo these days. Nothing wrong if you are, faith is a wonderful thing, but it's not my vibe these days, and that's okay. But we were church kids, and I remember my mom had gone on like a charity house building mission trip, which sounds so bizarre. She wasn't the kind of person who usually did that, but she did that for some reason for fun, like, for, I don't know, fun and fulfillment. I don't know, why does one do things? And anyway, my sister and I had to stay with our Sunday school teacher and his wife for a week. And they were delightful. They were a lovely couple. They were a young couple. They were trying to encourage our musical gifts, I think. And so in that week, they were like, well, you know what you girls should do is you should practice a song and then sing it in church on Sunday. And we were like, and they wanted to do a contemporary song because that would be fun. And so we settled on a fun song that was called Give God a Hand. And here's a little taste. It went, give God a hand for all he's done. He's given his life and his only son. Let's all stand up and give God a hand. And then and everybody was supposed to clap.
And did you write this?
Shame.
And whoever wrote this, I'm sorry, I don't want this poor person catching strays, but maybe not the best song ever written, and that's okay. And we were baffled as to why we were doing it. And we were just like, are we really going to do this? Even at the time, I was like 9 years old, I think, and my sister would have been probably 12. And we were like, are we really about to do this? And I remember standing on stage, like in the pulpit area where the preachers stood when it was time for us to sing before they clicked play on the cassette player. And I remember I was like, this is terrible. This is objectively terrible. But I remember looking out at the crowd and thinking like, all right, well, I've rehearsed this, so hang on to your butts, people. Like, I'm gonna
hold on, give him a hand.
I'm gonna bless you all with this horrible, horrible song. And it's funny because it could have very much been a negative experience, but I do remember liking that feeling of being about to perform and being like, well, here we are, shall we do it? And just going for it. So, but that was the first time I think I was ever asked to sing in front of people. And
that's the concert I would have taken Napoleon to.
Yeah.
He would have been very baffled by that, I think. I think there would have been a lot that he did not understand, and it was not just the language barrier.
Can I tell a brief one? Because this one, I think I need to say it just as an exorcism for myself because it's so embarrassing to remember.
Oh, this is good.
In middle school, which I think is secondary school for you guys. This is like 12 through 14 or something like that. We had, as the end of the year at school, and they had this thing coming up called field day, which is just like when the teachers have like totally checked out and they let you just like run around and play games and stuff outside.
You do sporting events all day for some reason.
Why I had the idea or why anybody let me do this, but I was about 13 or 14 and I told the teacher, I was like, you know what should happen is you should let my band play music for all the kids during field day. I did not have a band. I did not have a repertoire of songs to play. They had no idea whether this was, I don't know why they trusted a child to put this together. I did find 3 other young men, and we worked very, very hard, and we learned 4 songs. I think it was Smashing Pumpkins Today, which was mostly correct. We did Bushes Swallowed. We did Bush Machine Head. And then we did Marilyn Manson's Sweet Dreams. And we played those 4 songs, and it went over real good. Like, the kids were really excited, and the teachers were around this. But the problem was, and you maybe see where this is going, we finished those 4 songs, they wanted to hear another song. And we didn't have another songs. And field day is about 5 hours long. And so I was like, I hope you like those 4 songs because they're going to come around again. And we did about 2 more cycles before a teacher come up there and like, I think we've heard enough. I think that's enough. That's real good. But I'm proud of the 4 songs. I think that's pretty good for a middle school to put together.
To
By
do
the
it
end
in
of
so-
it, you were probably very, yeah.
to do that in such a short space of time is really, that's commendable. That's really good.
I appreciate that. And I think they were mostly the correct notes. I think that's pretty good.
Looking back, what would you say are your best performances?
So the serious answer, I will give the serious answer first because we are goofy, but I'm not 100%.
Mhm.
I will say that over the course of my life, I have had the honor of being able to perform at funerals a few times. And honestly, as a singer, that's really one of the biggest honors that you can have is to do that at someone's service. That's really the truthful answer because it's such a like there's just no other way to say it. It's just such a big honor to be able to do
Yeah.
that. And I'm very glad that I've been able to do that in my life several times. But I'm not several times, but a few memorable times. And that's really tremendous. But then I think we do probably have a more lighthearted answer as well, because Will and I have been playing together for 15 years. I mean, we've on and off in different iterations. We had a band in our 20s, and then we've done this and that all over the place. And do you want to talk about it? I don't want to just talk. Well, so at one point though, we'd had a sort of a progressive rock band, and we kind of fizzled out because our bass player moved away, and then our drummer got into some very minor legal trouble about something so silly I won't even say what it was, but it was like vandalism in a very silly capacity, and he was several years younger than us also. So we were like, oh, well, that's unfortunate. So we kind of dropped away. But at the same time, we had been asked to do a benefit show by our friend Brock, who was putting one together, and I think he assumed that we still had our band. But since that had just fallen apart, we were like, okay, we're going to have to come up with another idea. And since it was just me and Will at the time, we were like, okay, we're going to have to do something totally different. And what we decided to do was make a set of, I would call it like a country music hee-haw style review, where we did sort of like characters, and we wrote jokes, and we strung together like a whole show.
Yeah, and the songs like told a story over it, and we had like bits in between. It was like a little variety show.
It was like a little variety show.
It was funny.
And it was funny, and then we had names that I can no longer remember. He was like Conway Pity, something like that. I don't know. I was like Rowdy something Rose. I don't remember, but it was fun in a way that, I mean, it was a new kind of challenge, and also a really good exercise in not taking yourself too seriously. Because if you can get up in front of people and say, here is a crowd, I'm going to win them over with from Hee Haw that probably really we did steal from Hee Haw.
But I feel like that was like worthwhile doing, because I feel like
was.
you and I
That's
put a
why it was
lot
so
of effort
fun.
into making a show. It's not just like we have a band, we have a cover band, so come take it or leave it. We're gonna show up. We're going to put the work into it and the quality into it. So much so that the local barflies there, I remember they were very befuddled and confused, but then they were asking the bartenders, like, are these traveling musicians just passing through town? Like, what's the story?
Are
of
these
guys?
entertainers?
Yeah,
I
are
think
these
somebody-
entertainers?
Are these entertainers?
We got the barflies to pay attention. It's very hard to do.
And that's hard to do. And I also just love, as an exercise, taking yourself out of the kind of music that you normally play. It's really fun because, like, I like to imagine that in any lifetime, I would still be a bard. And I think about, like, I don't know how familiar you are with the heavy metal legend Ronnie James Dio, but when he started out in music, he wasn't singing heavy metal. He was like in some groovy little 60s groups with, like, like a cute doo-wop kind of
Well, he
vibe.
played trumpet.
Yeah. So, like, Ronnie James Dio was not always a heavy metal monster, and he was equally at home playing this other thing, because if I just think if you have the music in your heart, you can do it anywhere and in any timeline. I love the idea of that. So that's why that gig was my favorite that we've ever done, and I think maybe the best that we've ever done.
Yeah.
Because we had to rehearse that a whole lot. It was fun though. We should do that again sometime.
Absolutely.
Okay, we'll start rehearsing. I'll have to find my note cards with jokes.
What about venues? Is there a particular venue that stands out for you as a favorite place to perform?
So I'm so sorry. You'll have to every time I'm like looking at Will in the camera monitor, like before I start just running my mouth. I will say this in defense of Yeah, and you can
I
chime
don't
in.
know what you're talking about.
Yes, you do. Yes,
Just
you
start talking. I don't
Okay.
know.
All right. Well, Wendy, to be fair, I think he usually does not know what I'm talking about. I do just be talking. But anyway, no, I was actually thinking about this because, we're not huge. I've never been able to play anywhere amazing, but I would just like to speak out in appreciation of a community fair kind of vibe, because we recently did a festival in our town. It's the Old West End Festival. It's a neighborhood festival. There are booths and corn dog trucks and art and just all that stuff. Like the streets are closed off, that kind of a thing. And I was actually thinking how much I appreciated playing in that kind of venue, because we played at it was called the Art Fair stage, and it was a tent near the concession stands, basically, and it was a hot day, so that when people came in to sit down, like maybe they wanted to see music, but mostly they wanted to eat some popcorn and peace, I think. And I think as a musician, these are actually really fun and instructive environments to play in, because if I'm on stage and I am looking at the people in the crowd, what can I do right now to make that corn dog grandpa start tapping his toes? And I bet I can, I bet I can. I feel like I have some control over it. I don't labor under the delusion that people are going to be wowed or like, who's that goddess on the stage, Keen Garrity? No, but if you could get some random grandpa to stop eating his corn dog for a minute and enjoy the music, I think that's a win. And I actually really like playing in environments like that. It really boils it down to the most bare bones elements of performance, truly.
Yeah, that's all you. You're not coming in with any goodwill. Whatever response you get, you earn that.
Yeah, there's no huge production, They had sound, they had a great sound guy, they had like a nice setup and everything, but there's not, there's no pyro, there's no giant screens.
Yeah, and then no fans to blow my luxurious hair and solos, nothing like that.
None of that. It's just you and the grandpas.
Yeah.
Can you throw down for the grandpas? That's the question.
If you can reach the grandpas and make them start tapping their feet, then you get everybody in between, and I think that's a good thing.
Yeah,
especially as half your songs are about mad scientists and stuff.
My songs are weird.
I connect with that. I can relate.
But right, yeah, the other gold standard is if a child who doesn't know you comes up and says, I like your songs. Like if a child that you've never met before is complimenting your music, then it must be good. So
definitely.
That's also good, especially when a little girl comes up and like it makes me want to play guitar, because that's happened before. That's really cute.
Has it? Has that happened before?
It has, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I've had a couple of little girls come up and say that they like, I want to do that exact thing.
Yeah, you have to be able to imagine yourself.
Yeah, it's nice.
That is incredible. Right, we have another random question. Right, so if you could save 5 albums by other artists from a burning building, which 5 are you going to choose?
Okay, am I saving them for all of humanity, or is this just for me? Is this just for my own personal enjoyment, or do I have to decide?
No pressure, but you're saving it for the whole of humanity.
That's too hard. That's too hard.
I'm joking.
Okay, I'll answer like a little selfishly, maybe.
Yeah.
Just a little. Well, I'll answer a bit of both, a little selfishly. Will's trying to write his down.
Yeah,
right
I'm cheating.
Now.
Go ahead.
No, but I might pick one that you would pick, because one of mine I think would be Ray Charles' Modern Sounds of Country Western Music. Is that also on yours? We can have overlap. That's okay. I would say the ones that are more personal for me, that I think are noteworthy and enjoyable for humanity nonetheless, I would say Judas Priest, Defenders of the Faith, because I love that album. It is a well-paced album. The energy ride on the album is, I would say, perfection. And that's something I really care a lot about as a musician, and I love hearing that. Another one in that vein is, I would say, Freak-Hell by Ghost, because I think that is one of the most perfectly paced rock albums ever, possibly. It's just something that I really admire, how you pace out your energetic songs with your your more cool energy songs, and they're paced out with instrumentals. And so I just think that's a brilliant album. And I'm up to 3.
Yeah.
ZZ Top Eliminator. That's another one. That's another one, because for the rest of eternity, whenever a man is getting like dressed and trying on clothes, if we can't play sharp dressed man while he's doing that, how are we going to know that he looks good? So I need to save that album.
Can't dress with a montage song.
Yeah, you have to have Sharp Dressed Man by ZZ Top playing. That one's thing. That's non-negotiable. And then what's my fifth one? You know, for the emos, I'm just going off the top of my head. For the emos, we're going to do My Chemical Romance, The Black Parade. Because if
Okay.
I don't save that, then, you know, how will we emote?
Yeah, then people should be wandering through Hot Topic confused about why they're even supposed to be there. What am I even doing here? Why do I even want this belt? Why do-
And
You'd never be
I
forgiven.
really like that album.
It's great.
The Black Parade is a good
It's
album.
great.
It's like 2 songs too long, but that's okay. We won't hold that against
Yeah.
them. It's a good album. Okay, those are weird answers, but that's what genuinely came to my mind. So, what did you?
That was very good off the top of your head. That was very good.
Will, how about yourself?
I would say Radiohead, OK Computer.
Okay, sure.
Amazing album.
Ground shifting. It was like the Beatles dropping Sgt. Pepper on top of grunge.
I forgot to pick a Beatles album.
Well, you can honorary. We can do that. Yeah. I say OK Computer. I would say Sunny Day Real Estate's How It Feels to Be Something On. I just love that album. Ray Charles, Modern Sounds, Country Western Music. I would say Metallica, Ride the Lightning. That's the best.
You wouldn't pick the Black Album for
No,
posterity?
I don't think so. They got
Okay.
too garage bandy for me there. I like them a bit more composed.
All right.
And then I would say Nick Johnston's Remarkably Human, which is a great, well-written composition. I love that album.
Brilliant. Good choices all round. Out of all of your songs, which is your favourite to play live?
Yeah, I think we talked about this recently. Interestingly, when you're playing live, you know, you would like to imagine yourself really getting into the emotion and that kind of a thing, and being overcome by the emotion of the song. But I have found in practice that it's actually better when you have a song that has emotion you can lean into, but that doesn't actually floor you emotionally, and that you can concentrate a bit but relax a bit at the same time. Those are the criteria, I believe. Because I mean, I have a couple of songs that if I think about them too much, I will cry, and that does not actually make for a good performance. That's actually just like quite messy. And so for that reason, I have a song on Atomic Hymns called Black Blizzard, and I think that's probably my favorite, especially currently. I think that's my favorite to play because that song has everything that I just described. It is a mid-tempo blues rock song. It's really got some moments, some big, powerful moments, but for the most part, it's kind of a cool energy groove. And I just find it very relaxing to get into it. And it's not a song where I'm going to forget what chords I play. Like I'm not going to, I'm not going to be like, oh, what was that? And not going to have moments like that because it's in A minor. And I'm like, okay, this is easy. I don't have to think about it. Sometimes you slip up, you know, on stage.
I was going to say that for similar reasons. And also I would say about Rebecca's songs, they are very composed and arranged. It's not like, here's the riff and we're going to do it for 5 minutes. So for me, I find the guitar parts pretty difficult to do live. Like you're very exposed and it's different every time you come in. It's more like a composition. And I feel like on Black Blizzard, it's spacey enough, but interesting enough that it's that good balance. And I also was pretty proud of that solo. I like that
it's a
solo.
great
It's
solo.
like a Blue Oyster Cult, Seymour Duncan pickup kind of solo. I really like the tense interval it ends on and all that stuff. So I like that one too. With Black Blizzard, I'd say that one.
That's great. What are your earliest memories of recording?
I will say that learning how to record myself is something that I am more proud of than literally anything else with my current music practice. Because in life you have some talents and skills and you hope to capitalize on them in some way. Singing is always relatively easy for me. Songwriting is not super difficult for me, although I of course like to improve my song craft at every go. I really do try to improve that. But learning how to record, woof, that is hard. And I just want to say to anybody out there who is going through that process, it will sound like trash to your ears for the longest time. Because there's a famous quote by a radio personality, Ira Glass, who talks about this gap between what you wish to hear because you have great taste and what you're producing, and how that gap can just be very unbearable for a long time.
And the better taste you have, the more horrible it is to work up to it.
Right. And so I will say just the process of learning how to record. I mean, I would say I started seriously in about 2016 trying to get better at it. And I don't think I had anything worth listening
You
to
got the
for
software that came with the keyboard involved.
right. And I started, practicing. We also had a podcast at the time, which it was a Masters of the Universe He-Man podcast because why anything? And we started writing silly little songs for our He-Man podcast. And that's actually how I started practicing recording. And I would also recommend that for people because if you find something to do that's lower stakes than like the precious thing in your heart that's trapped that can't come out, then it's typically easier to execute and to listen to it objectively.
You have to have produced something to know how to refine it.
Right. And that's the worst, stupidest, hardest fact.
Because you want whatever art you produce to be the thing. You don't want it to be illegitimate.
Right. And so that's something that I remember struggling with for many years. And I feel very proud of myself because I'm finally at a place where the precious thing in my heart, like a song that I think is really good, I think I can bring it to life.
And if I could brag on Rebecca a little bit, I can't believe when I hear that album that was made in our house, in this room that we're sitting in.
You made it there.
Yeah, because we don't have a studio. We do not have, it's by any measure, not a great place to record. And also the way her songs are arranged and composed, it's very difficult to get a good recording. Like, it's not like busking guitar music or like punk pop rock, which is, legitimate, but there's like a formula, there's a way to do that. You almost need like Glenn Ballard production skills or something to make this sound right with all the weird frequencies and different instruments coming in and out and stuff. So it's crazy to me when I hear that it was made in this house, because it's very hard. I have never heard anybody make an album that sounds like this on their own. And that's not like me being obnoxious bragging about myself. I brag about her, so it's fine. So, but anyway.
I wouldn't say that about, I think a lot of people are now doing like home recording really, really well. But it's crazy that I've gotten to a place where I feel like I can do that. And it was painful.
It was hard
so
to figure
getting
out.
there.
And, we're like blending like electronic stuff with like acoustically recorded things, and there's not much room. You're really exposed there. Like, I know I get stressed when I have to record guitar parts because you're using a drum that's gridded and everything, and you have to be right on it, especially if it's not like a groovy riff.
Okay, cool. So what kind of equipment do you use? Is it just mainly a computer or?
Yeah, so I record into I have say it in English. Okay. So I have a PC that's just like, a fairly good, it was like a gaming PC when I bought it, but just so you have some processing power. I have the Scarlett, I think it's 1i8 interface. And so basically everything goes into that. And then I use PreSonus Studio One for my recording software. And then we have a handful of like workhorse mics. You're looking at two of them right now. So this is the Shure SM7B. This is my main vocal mic, because if it was good enough for Michael Jackson to record off the wall with, then it's good enough for me now. And then the sometimes we'll mic a guitar cabinet with the Shure 7 here. But yeah, it's mainly just everything done via the computer. And I do use TuneTrack's Easy Drummer for all of our drum parts on the recordings.
And if it's good enough for Opeth.
If it's good enough for Devin Townsend, it's good enough for me. So yeah, I'm pleased that we even have these tools, because when we were in a band in our mid-20s, that was not on the table.
No.
It's amazing the technology we have available today to do this, and I'm very proud of myself for doing the work to try to learn how to use it, because that is hard. And the skill of, I would just encourage anybody who's struggling with this, the skill of learning to sing, hear yourself, hear it played back, and not want to just throw up. That is exposure, and you just have to do it. And you just have to do it, and eventually you'll stop caring.
If you can listen
Go ahead. Sorry, I'm interrupting.
Sorry, I was just going to say, if you can listen through that, thing where you're hearing your voice and think, I sound shit. But if you can listen through that and just try and be a bit more objective about it, then that's the best way to be, I think.
It is. And you never stop caring, but then it doesn't feel as sharp. And you can and you can work through it. And then you also have to come to terms with the fact that I can sing a take 10 times and it's still going to sound like my voice. My instrument is what it is. I can't sound like somebody else. Like, I would love to open my mouth and sound like Ronnie James Dio or Levi Stubbs from the Four Tops or something like that. But I don't. I am, my instrument is my instrument. There's this little anecdote that I heard from actually from Dolly Parton when they were recording the trio album with Linda Ronstadt. And apparently Linda Ronstadt is a very big perfectionist, and she would want to do take after take after take. And Dolly eventually just said to her, like, listen, I can do it 10 times. It's going to sound exactly the same. It's going to come out of me sounding like Dolly Parton. And Linda Ronstadt had to be like, fine, Dolly. But she's right, though. You can tweak it up to a point, and you can change your performance up to a point, but you are who you are, and you have to embrace it.
And can I say what I would say about guitar playing? I would almost say this is almost the opposite for the guitar thing for me in my mind. I feel like I want to practice enough that it's not dicey.
We need pithy advice. One soundbite. No.
Okay, I would be if you're going to record guitar, it really pays to practice with a metronome. You just have to. You can't be good, but your timing be okay. Like, that's the quickest way to sound professional and make it swing. Like it was a Carol Kay plays bass stuff. Like, practice making the metronome swing, and you're going to have a lot easier time recording. I have learned.
Okay, well, guitar is opposite of singing, apparently, is what I've just heard. So we're learning everything today.
Well, okay, I'll stop. Okay.
No, but that's okay. Your technical skills do have to be on point. The better they are, the easier time you'll have, I think.
I get very anxious recording, so I feel like the practice makes me feel a lot better.
Is there a track of yours that carries a deep personal meaning for you?
I do have a song on Atomic Hymns called Lift, and that song was written about my mother experiencing vascular dementia. She since died from it. She died in 2023.
I'm sorry.
And thank you. For anybody out there who has a loved one who is struggling with dementia, it is a horrible, horrible disease. And I think a lot of people can relate to that. That song was incredibly personal, though, because it's the sentiment of the song essentially is that I would love to do everything I can to keep you intact and keep you whole as a person and to help you along. But I simply cannot, because it's too much for me. And it's a song about coming to terms with that fact. That's earlier when we were talking about how Atomic Hymns is about coming to terms with smallness. That's one really concrete and vivid example in my life where, I had to accept, no matter how great my love for you is, I'm not bigger than this.
Yeah.
And it's a beautiful song, but it's also a very difficult song for me to even listen to. I usually don't. And I'm glad it's out there. And I hope that somebody else hears that and can feel that feeling and feel heard. But it's a really intense song.
Okay. Well, how about yourself? Is one of your tracks that carries a meaning for you?
Well, obviously I'm mostly playing to support Rebecca's songs.
Yeah.
But I really like the sentiment of one of the songs from her first album, Get Big. It's the track Get Big, which is about a scrappy young girl who tromps down into hell to confront her father, which is not related to her personally.
Not related to me personally,
but
just a good story.
Yeah, but I just love the idea of somebody with only the tools that they have and being unprepared, showing up and being as big as these celestial spaces, and I don't care what the odds are. It's here I am. You're as big as your willpower. I really love that.
Thank you.
What is one of your most memorable moments from a live show, whether it's a crowd's reaction after a particular song or a moment of connection, anything that sort of felt magic in the moment?
I mean, I have a perfect moment to think about. Rebecca mentioned that we had a band like in the Audies where it was sort of like prog rock stuff, like Coheed and Cambria type stuff.
It was very much like Coheed and Cambria. Yeah. I love Coheed and Cambria.
I remember it was one of these bar situations where there's hardly anybody there and there are barflies there. We played this one song that I think is fair to call pretty epic, and it was pretty rad, and it has this breakdown in the bridge that's pretty dark, and it builds up really good, and has this really moody solo, and then it just resolves on this big E minor thing, and you could see like the light turn on at this drunk guy's eyes. He's like about 9 beers deep, but somewhere in there he recognized that a moment has occurred and it requires a response, and so he like gets up in a chair and like a storyteller bar to the bar, he just gestures at everybody and he's like, "You scared yet?"
That's what he said. That was the comment.
and then everybody clapped, and it was like he knew something happened, and I really appreciate that.
And I remember that well. It's hilarious to get the drunk people on your side in any capacity.
Yeah, we
and
shook him out of something.
for whatever reason, he was feeling it, and we laughed about it because of course it's hilarious, you know. And it was a nice departure from drunk people asking like to hold the microphone and you know whatever.
Yeah, and meanwhile, keep in
Whatever
mind
they would do.
that's just the moment of the song. The song is still going. In the middle of the song, he's screaming at people, asking if they're scared yet.
But that was like a really special, fun moment because it's like again, I don't know this man. He's just
Yeah.
here to have some.
We turned the
beers.
room. They weren't even there for that.
He was into it.
I mean, granted, when the song was over, one of his friends asked if he could get on the microphone and have people sing "Happy Birthday" to him.
That was a different Yahoo. I don't think they were friends. That was someone else. And by the way, the answer to that was no.
Yeah, but
and
everybody was in a good mood. But that was the point.
You found
everyone was in a
that,
good mood.
yeah, you found that man's soul.
I think so. He may remember it as a demon having come visit him. I don't know how he'll interpret that overnight, but it was a special night for him.
For us all.
Yeah.
It's like the bit in The Exorcist when the head starts spinning.
Yeah, exactly.
We
In a good
triggered
way.
something
Yeah.
in a good way. Exactly.
A darkness came into me that night.
When you play live, is it just you guys or do you have a band with you? What's the setup like?
So right now our setup, we've got a show worked up where it is just the two of us because it's for the things that are around here and available. That's really just the simplest thing so that we don't have to worry about rehearsals and we don't have to worry about renting a huge truck and stuff like that. So right now we do arrangements where I'll play either the piano, an acoustic guitar, a bass, or nothing. Will plays the lead guitar parts, and then we play to a pretty simplified pared down backing track for like drums and just a couple of little things. There's no like background vocals or anything like that. But
Okay.
I think that's working pretty well.
Mhm.
But of course, like I really do miss playing with the full band, and I would love for us to be able to get that together again.
At one time, we hired a couple of like really good pro guys for a video you did, and that was pretty fun too.
And that was fun. That was super fun. I really, really do enjoy playing with a full band. And, you know, my dream is that we have enough financial impetus or some kind of ability to support that.
Yeah, I feel like
musically.
Rebecca's music is theatrical, and if we were going to spin up the production, you know, that would be the time to get more people.
I would love to. I would love to, though. I do miss it.
But I want to see a screen and behind us, and Rebecca talks about coming out to the Gremlins theme song and stuff like that. That's what in our minds. That's where we're going.
Well, you've given me the idea of Joe Walsh popping out of a guitar case coffin.
That's for
so-
me. That's my job.
Oh, never mind.
You have that
I
idea?
can't copy that. Okay.
Yeah, come out of your own coffin. You have to do this. You have to do the Steve Martin or something. I don't know.
What was the first song or album you ever really connected with on a kind of deep level?
I'm saying before everything. My answer for that is I think the first album I even remember loving was Paul Simon's Graceland, and my dad had
yes.
gotten that cassette. Yeah, I mean, and it's a brilliant album. And what I love about that album is that I have had a relationship with it my entire life. And so sort of the relationship with it evolves as I get older. And when I was a kid, that looked like me and my sister and my little cousin dancing to You Can Call Me Al and like recording and like rewinding it, especially when they got to the bass run. That was the bass part reversed. Anyway, that, you know, it looked like that at first when the album was new, but then, you know, I've come to enjoy the album on a really deep level just as I've aged. At one point I did, partially inspired by the song, I did get to take my mom, who was an Elvis fan, to Graceland. And so, you know, I remember listening to that album on the way, driving to Memphis and just being like, yep, we're doing it, you know.
Yeah.
So just having a record that's like the soundtrack of your life or feeling like that, and it's such a grand sweeping project. Yeah, and I still think I will listen to it my entire life.
Yeah, it's a great album. Great album.
Yeah.
Will, how about yourself?
I would say, I mentioned it a couple of times, but I would say Sunny Day Real Estate's How It Feels to Be Something On, because I really like things that sound like character singing. He's not like doing like an affected character, but the way he sings is so strange. It's like, I think it's like, you know how like Peter Gabriel sings Red Rain and it sounds so weird? He's very much sounds like that. It's like if Gollum sang beautifully, that's what this guy sounds like to me. And so it sort of has this like timeless storybook sort of feel to it. So like Rebecca was talking about, I can always come to it because it's so strange and because it's so timeless and because it's not super popular. It feels like it was for me, or it was sort of special. It almost puts me too much in a mood, so I can't listen to it lightly. But that's beautiful, weird album. That guy's so, like, I wouldn't say reclusive, but it's very insular and stuff. He doesn't go after attention a lot, but it's a beautiful album.
He still has a mystique.
Yeah, he definitely
He's
does.
not on Instagram doing embarrassing things that we have to be upset about.
Jeremy Innick, I think is his name.
I do like the description of like Gollum as a beautiful singer.
It is. When you hear it, you know what I talk about. You remember when iTunes used to be good and they had like the descriptions of the songs? They were really well written. And I remember one time they described him as having a slippery voice. I was like, that is perfect. Slippery voice. It sounds almost like it's a frog creature or something.
Jeremy Innick is like sitting here listening, like, I'm not sure if this is a flattering description. Sounded like Gollum, a frog, and slippery.
Yeah, he's called me strange. He's called me Gollum. He said I'm reclusive.
I've got slippery voice.
Yeah.
Are there any other bands or artists you've enjoyed playing or seeing live on your local scenes? Like, have you collaborated with anyone?
Unfortunately, we've not really together gotten the opportunity to do that recently. Keen Garrity, me as an artist, sort of started as a COVID era project, and it's been really hard to get out of that insulated mindset. And I don't know that Toledo has a ton of places and people to do stuff with, although I'm open to global collaborations. But Will has something going on right now, which I think is very exciting, with a collaboration with
there's a guy I work with, I think on Instagram and YouTube. You could find him. It's called the Presha Experience, Presha, and he does like these like really cool like lo-fi soul hip hop kind of 70s sounding things. And he's like does like these travelogue videos. He goes all over the country and other countries and stuff. But anyway, I started doing like some session guitar things for his tracks, and a few of them I think are about to come out. But that's outside of what I usually play, and so it's a lot of fun. And his songs are really cool. I heard things like them. They sound sort of like Rick Ross, Justice League, but more like 70s type of stuff. So anyway, that's been fun. I've enjoyed doing it.
Cool. Right.
And it's really cool nowadays too, because if you're a guitar. Because of the simplicity of collaboration now, he can record tracks and just send them along. So that's pretty cool. Though again, technology we didn't have when we were younger.
Yeah, definitely. So what does the future hold for you guys, both in the long term and the short term?
Short term, I definitely want to do some more video content. I would really like to promote Atomic Hymns more. It's going to be a year since it's come out, like pretty soon, but I just haven't got to do nearly as much promotion as I want to do with it. And I really, really, really want to make that a priority. So that's my main goal. And then long term, like I said, I would love to have a stage show, full band, the whole touring, the whole 9 yards. That's something that I would really love to do, to be invited to play places and to travel for music. So that's the big goal.
That would be cool.
And I would say I would really look forward to playing on these tracks in the future. I mean, I would listen to Rebecca's music if it weren't her. I like that music a lot. I would love in the short term to be doing more like
she sings like Gollum. She's got a slippery voice.
You do some character singing.
I do character. I love character singing. Yeah, I'm just kidding.
I would love to do more session recording. So if anybody hears this and they want any guitar they would like to try out what I could do, I would love to try doing that more. And in the long term, I would love to make a guitar album that's not just for guitar nerds, that's really well composed, like the Nick Johnston stuff. That would be my goal. I know it's succeeded if non-guitar nerds enjoyed it.
Brilliant. Right, and that brings us to the end of the interview. Have you enjoyed it?
I've had a great time.
It's a lot of fun.
I've had a great time.
I think I talked too much. I told myself
I feel like I talked too much.
I'm going to talk 1/3 of what Rebecca said. I don't think I was successful.
We both talk too much. It's okay.
Listen, you can't talk too much on a podcast. You give me so much content. It's amazing. So have you guys got any concerts coming up? Any new releases you want to tell people about?
So I would like to promote a radio show that I have right now on, it's an internet radio station called SmokyMountainRadio.org. And they're based out of the Blount County Historical Museum in East Tennessee. And I am lucky enough to have been tapped to do a show there where I curate a bunch of, old country stuff, a couple of newer Appalachian influenced artists, and talk about, the region and its influence. And it's called Shouting Distance. And it's on in the US, like our time zone, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Saturdays. But if you can't make it live, I upload the episodes to my SoundCloud afterwards. So link in bio there.
Cool.
For anyone's interested. Yeah.
And if I can, I would love to mention Rebecca and I also do a really good audio drama. It's like about a Halloween, like a Southern Halloween town.
I've seen this.
It's called Curdle Holler.
Yeah.
It's called Curdle Holler, CRDLE. HOLLER. And I think it's quite good. We take it very seriously. Rebecca and I both write, and we take it it takes a lot of time, and we do a lot of voice acting. Give it an audition. I think it's quite good. I would listen to it if it weren't us. So, anyway,
makes me laugh.
Yeah, I think it's pretty funny. It's kind of like I don't know if you remember the internet cartoon, like Homestar Runner, sort of like meets Andy Griffith's Show, meets The Simpsons, meets Nightmare Before Christmas.
There you go.
I have seen it. I think that there's a YouTube, isn't there? Might be Instagram.
Yeah, we do have it on YouTube. Yeah. And on podcast stuff.
Yeah. It is very funny. It's very creative. And how can people reach you online? Have you got any social media website you want to tell people about?
Sure. I'm most active on Instagram. So that is at Keen Garrity. KeenGarrity. And if you're interested in supporting me financially or like purchasing actual physical media, I ship worldwide, and you can look at my shop, keengarrity.com/shop.
Mine is at Senator_Cyborg on Instagram.
Cool. Right. So please like, share, follow, and subscribe to the Sounds Like Us podcast on Instagram and YouTube. And finally, to play us out, it's Keen Garrity and Will Malone with their song Zeno, Tunneling Through, I think it is.
Correct. Yes. Zeno,
brilliant.
Yeah.
Keen and Will, it's been a
regional song.
Okay. So, and Will, it's been a pleasure having you both on. We've had a fun hour and a half now. It's cut out a couple of times, which is quite good for my shit technology. But I really appreciate you guys taking time out of your day to do this. And thank you very much for coming on.
Oh, and likewise to
you.
Thank you.
It was a lot of fun.
Yeah,
really
I've had a great time.
It's great. We'd love to have you both back on. Yeah, definitely.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. This is Will Malone and Keen Garrity with Zeno.
There'll be no sign that I am moving when I'm between those beams of light. I went through the valley, I walked to the sky. I came for a rally, but I stayed for a cry. No chorus of voices, no singing of hymns, not transported with joy, no windmilling of limbs. Tumbled from a broken string, I was wounded in the witnessing of the glint on a wing, the pulse of a ring, bright and insignificant. I'm just a poor concatenation, tunneling through this endless night. There'll be no sign that I am moving when I'm between those beams of light. In rickety carts, we haphazardly roll on tracks that we lay and half-assedly bolt. Our shoddiest work, where we fret and we flail, not veil of tears, deep ocean swept over the years. We're sprinkles of dirt, mountains of hurt, spreading over continents. And I'm just a fool, concatenation, tunneling through this endless night. There'll be no sign that I am moving when I'm between those beams of light. One bit of longing that I'll never shake. One bit of keening, one queer little ache to stare down the lines of this path that I light, to feel it was right, to get up to every blessed thing, lay faith down as an offering, to be the breath of the gust, the grit of the dust, the gladness in the moving must. And I'm just a fool,